Like if we have MSP people listening, death by new tool is a thing.
Yeah.
Like there is not a magic wand that makes your company instantly more profitable, more efficient, all that kind of stuff. It's actually the same with people.
Welcome to Confessions of an Implementer. I'm your host, Ryan Hogan. We share unique stories of EOS implementers and the companies they've transformed to give you a rare glimpse into the successes and challenges of the system in action. Let's jump in. So I just learned while we were doing our 30-second pre-call that I just played golf with your podcast co-host.
Yeah, that's right.
What a small world.
Small world. Well, there's only 900 EOS implementers in the world, so like depending on how often you play golf, it's inevitable, perhaps. But
it probably is. Where were you? Why weren't you playing golf?
I don't play golf. Well, I think there's lots of answers to that question, but the easiest one is I don't play golf. But I was in an airplane when you guys started. But my buddy Josh, who you played golf with, he and I host a podcast called All Tens Podcast because it started out as a joke when we would do sessions and we would criticize each other if we didn't get all tens, which I've come to find out is probably frowned upon, but whatever, all tens all the time. That's our little motto that we say to each other. So yeah, he's a big golfer. He lives in Arizona, so he golfs regularly. I'm not a golfer. He did give me a really sweaty Orlando, Florida humidity hug though afterwards, and I haven't forgiven him yet.
There was like real pros on the course too, like Chris McCarty. I talked to him last week and he gave me all these tips and stuff, and then come to find out he was an ex-pro. So I feel like Josh and I might have been out of our league. Josh did well though, so it was good.
Did you guys see alligators?
So not only did we see alligators, so we saw our first alligator, and so we had caddies. There was one caddy per group, and he rode on the back of the cart, and of course they were just as joyful and humorous as you can imagine. And it was like the second hole, and he's like, "Hey, you hear those rumors about gators in Florida?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he pointed to one, and it was just a little guy, but everybody gets really excited, so we're taking pictures. I swear to you, it was like the 11th or 12th hole. He was like, "Hey, that's the real gator, and that one had a deer in its mouth last week," and it was like a 14-foot huge gator.
Wow.
It was pretty cool.
And none of you thought like maybe it was like animatronic, like just there to make you feel good?
It'd be really funny if that was it. It could have been. It could have been.
Yeah, you're right around the corner from Disney. You just never know. Never know what's real.
They're just setting the mood. By the way, so what is your and Josh's podcast about?
EOS. It's so we were in boot camp together in August of 2024, so 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's the craziest story actually, since we got time. We sit down next to each other, and we were in like a smaller boot camp. Is where when you become an EOS implementer, you have to go get training.
Yep. And
it's a couple days, and it's super duper intense. And like all EOS implementers are super impressive, so it's kind of intimidating for a number of reasons, right? You got a bunch of successful people in the room, all trying to do this thing. Also, you got to know the 90-minute meeting, like the way that you introduce EOS to leadership teams. So it's just an intimidating experience. And we sit down, and he pulls out this water bottle, and he sits it on the table, and it's a water bottle of a company who my best friend owns in Arizona.
Wild.
Yeah, and so anyway, so immediately there was like a connection there, and so that sparked conversation. We ended up just getting along, and there's only 7 or 8 of us in our boot camp, and we all are all still good friends, but we kind of have this. Do you remember the show on CNN, Crossfire?
Oh yes, yeah.
And it was just like 2 guys yelling at each other, probably not even listening, and like it felt like every time we talked on the phone, it was that. We don't get into politics on the pod, but we do on the phone, and so at some point I was like, man, it would be really funny if we recorded these and people listened to them, because I think it's interesting. And so we were like, I'm a high quick start, he's not, and I was like, let's just record a podcast. And he was like, threw caution into the wind and said yes, and now we're like 80 episodes in or something like that, something crazy. So here we are.
That's awesome. That's huge. Do you do this on a weekly basis and you guys are just jamming?
We kind of like, we schedule a couple hours of every other week or so and record a handful of episodes, but we release them weekly. So
Got it.
the purpose of it was, one, we like to hear ourselves talk, obviously, but two, we're EOS implementers, but two, there's 900 EOS implementers in the world, and we wanted to have some way to share content that showed ourselves, not just the same content that is kind of pervasive in the community, right? So I just want to have a voice out there that was a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. So it's been a way for us to kind of stay connected with our communities, primarily on LinkedIn. And my mom, who is my number one, my mom listens to every episode. Like she gives me comments. She even printed a t-shirt for me to wear. Like I love my mom. Good job, Mom.
I love that. I hope your mom is watching this one right now too, because that would
I hope she isn't.
That'd be amazing. What's interesting about what you just, because like we're going to get in some detail. Like you have a really impressive background, and you just had this whole thing where you're like, I'm sitting along with entrepreneurs and successful people, and like the intimidation factor with that. Like you grew an MSP, an IT company, like from the ground up successfully. I mean, like what you, by all standards, you are you are in that bucket.
Thank you. And also, imposter syndrome is real, right? Like, I don't know. I pretty lucky. Met some good people, did some good stuff, had a good run. Kind of, when I tell the story of WorkSmart, the IT company, the genesis of that company was like the timing was right. And so, like, there's all sorts of things along the way where it just kind of broke our way. And of course we worked hard, and of course we were smart, and of course we made a lot of really good decisions. And one of those decisions was EOS. But, that comparison is the thief of joy. I understand that. Right. And so, yeah, I'm like proud of a lot of the work that I did. And also when I get in the room with a bunch of like highly successful people, I'm like, man, there's a bunch, even when I'm not in the room, there's a bunch of stuff I wish I'd have done differently and better and all this. And yeah. I don't know. I'm just a human, like a lot of people are impressive. You look at their resume or look at their bank account or look at whatever it is about them, and you're like, holy cow, that's cool. And they got their own gremlins on their shoulders too. And you don't know that part of the story. I was in I don't want to keep talking about my mom. That's weird, but
it's all good.
She did this thing called Landmark. I went to one of them, and the thing that I remember, one of the only things I remember is like you're in a room with 400 people who've all paid money to be there, and the guy at the front of the room says, "All right, everyone, close your eyes." And you close your eyes, and then he says, "All right, now imagine you're sitting in the front of the room and you have no clothes on." And everybody's like butt clenches a little bit. You're like, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
And then he said, and now realize that everyone in the room is thinking that they're the one at the front of the stage. Like no one is paying attention to you. And all of that stuff that you're feeling, all those kind of insecurities, what are people thinking, external judgment fears, all those sorts of things are the same fears that everyone else has. And that's what makes us all human, what makes us like connect with each other, and it's pretty cool. And also those fears are real. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. That's a good way to start a pod. Let's go.
Let's roll. Well, let's talk about like that and the company and kind of the founding story. Because what's interesting is there are a lot of EOSIs like are entrepreneurs and they have built their own companies. But the thing that I found pretty consistent is like there's this. They come out of college, like maybe a born entrepreneur, but like went in a couple of different paths. What's interesting about yours is like right out of college, you're like IT company. Like what was the founding story for that?
Yeah, well, the founding story is really my partner Ron is the hard driver, brilliant, kind of super smart dude, highly driven, and then he just had this idea and then recruited a bunch of us, and there were three of us that kind of ended up taking the company through birth. We started the company in the spring of 2001, which was right after the .com bubble burst. And Ron was getting his MBA. I was an undergrad. Our third partner, Ricky, was getting his MBA also. And the original concept was this flexibly leased office space with like high touch tech. Back then, there was no WeWork.
Yeah.
There was Office Suites Plus and Regis who were doing kind of Class A, flexibly leased, executive suite type stuff. And if you asked them about like IT security or networking or all that kind of stuff, they could hand you a cable, and that was really it. And so the original thought from Ron was to do that, but with high touch tech. And so we got lucky and had, because the .com bubble had burst, we had a bunch of like MBA and business school students who had internships that had fallen through. And so that first summer, we just kind of, this is the luck, the circumstantial thing. We just had a bunch of really super smart people trying to work on that problem. And lo and behold, it's like it's a very capital intense business, like as WeWork has laid bare. But what we figured out through that process is like, one, it's really hard to sell through a multivariable thing, right? You got to get people to move and they want the service. And so when we figured out, man, we can't make people move. That's really hard. Yep. Let's just take the service to them. And so that was a pretty quick pivot that we made after about 6 months of trying to figure out this Office Suites Plus and then into doing service. And then we weren't technical. None of us were technical. None of us knew how to do the computer work.
Which is like the foundation of the entire company or the entire product. That's awesome.
I mean, we were dangerous, but we couldn't fix anything. And we found this great guy. His name was Ray Hall, who I think was like just out of high school. He's like the Doogie Howser of IT. Like, and he like took a leap of faith to come work for us. And we went out and sold IT services that really, like, I don't know that we said we only have one guy, but we only had one guy. Yeah. But from the beginning, like one of the smart things that we did from the beginning was focus on monthly recurring revenue. So all we were focused on was building like this monthly recurring. And so that was the other kind of circumstantial thing that was really in our benefit at that time, which was, if you remember, Y2K had just happened. When people were buying computers, they were buying them from like local people who were like building them specifically for the customer who ordered it. Yep. Gateway, Dell, those companies hadn't really figured out the mass, whatever they figured out thing where everybody was just buying computers from one or two companies. It was still kind of, you were going to the guy around the corner to build you a PC. And those guys hadn't figured out how to make the transition from building computers to like sustaining them. Yep. So that was there. Windows 2000 networking came out. Broadband was just around the corner. There was just all sorts of like circumstances that when you put them in a pot made it more likely for us to be successful. And we were just really good salesmen. We would get, and really good at packaging services to go out and get people to sign up. So that's like the genesis of WorkSmart. Yeah.
So WorkSmart started as you were providing, it was kind of like we work with technology or we work with server rooms or something like that. And then what you realized through this process was you can't get people to move to you. And so you started taking that to them.
Yeah.
Was this traditional IT services as we think about it today, as far as like, managing computers, hardware, software, things like that? Or like, what was kind of like the core offering at the time?
The core offering at the time, because we were so focused on building monthly recurring revenue, was a monthly scheduled visit. Yep. Because, man, I don't know that we even imagined this future where we're talking to someone on video. Like most of our clients barely had broadband. Like not only did they not have broadband, they barely had like a network in their office, right? Like they might have like an old machine that handled manufacturing, but most of them were like mainly using computers for word processing, not file sharing, right? Yeah. This was like back in the day. This is 2001. And so literally what was happening is we would send Ray. Ray would go out. He'd be like, Tuesdays at 8:00 in the morning. He'd be there for 2 hours and he's here to fix your problems. Trying to get to this point where we were kind of doing two things at once. One, trying to make a business that was sustainable, but two, switch our clients' heads from being everything is reactive all the time. Like I don't ever call my IT person unless it's completely broken, to I'm just going to get in maintenance mode and like Ray will be here every other Monday and we're just going to save the issue till when he gets here. helped us build a business that we could think about and plan for the future on, and helped our clients kind of have clear expectations on what their bill would be like, I mean, so that was the core of the service, is like recurring scheduled visits.
So when he showed up and he was there to work on computers for 2 hours, like, was that a part of the service? And then like, if there was time needed for more intricate work, like that was like billable hours. Is that how you kind of work?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. And so like at the beginning,
Smart.
right?
Really smart.
Thank you. Just kidding. At the beginning, it was just kind of like, we'll show up. As that service matured, and I think like a lot of people in the industry still do it this way, but and I don't think that we were first, but it definitely felt like we were pioneering. As that evolved pretty quickly, like we would show up and have like a proactive checklist. Here's the 8 things that we have to make sure are healthy before we start solving Sally's like Excel issue, right? Or whatever. Yep. And for sure, clients over the years, that would turn into, we need like a couple hours just to do all the proactive stuff. And then if you need more time to troubleshoot all the random stuff, add more time, right? Yep. The other thing that happened is shortly after the company, like the mid 2000s, 2005, 2006, two more kind of cool, circumstantial, helpful, serendipitous things happened, which one, broadband became ubiquitous, yep. Right? Like that wasn't the case in 2001, but by 2005, 2006, the bandwidth was orders of magnitude bigger than it had been 5 years before. So that happened. Second thing that happened is the tools that like big enterprise IT departments had been using for years, if not decades, became multi-tenant, became available at a price point that service providers like us could actually afford to. Instead of they adopted like utility style billing, right? Yep. So that instead of us having to pay $150,000 for some enterprise IT management software, we could pay $5 a month per device. Yep. And charge our clients $8 a month per device. And you take all of those like enterprise IT management functions and package them into something delivered over broadband in a multi-tenant software that allowed us to kind of give them a next level up of proactive IT support and management. And that was where like managed services actually started, right? Like before that, we were just doing monthly visits. We just called it IT services. But 2005, 2006 was when managed services started. And the lessons that we learned from packaging the hourly stuff and the monthly fees and understanding like price points and all that kind of stuff translated really well into packaging managed services and selling that to our clients too.
I realize we're going way back in time. So if you don't like remember some of these things, just out of curiosity, like what were you charging on a monthly basis at that point? I know we're in 2001.
When we first started, we were selling hourly services for like $40 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
so you're like $80 a month. We'll show up. Holy moly. Those were the good days.
Yeah, man.
For companies. Not for
I mean, we might have been shooting ourselves in the foot for the future, but yeah, I mean, 40, I mean, that was short lived. I mean, we were pretty aggressive on raising rates, but we were just trying to get that thing, man, of we were literally selling something that people needed, but we were educating them that this was the right way to pay for it. And so we had to like reduce the price to make them feel comfortable with like, because we were asking for commitments from the beginning. I need a 1-year commitment for $80 a month, which sounds crazy now. You're like, what, $80 a month? I don't pay any, like my internet's more than $80 a month. But like, that was a complete sea change for the way that they had been used to thinking about IT. IT was, so there's a lot of stuff going into that equation.
There's a lot of things here, but one of the things is like we're doing something similar at Talent Harbor because we pulled subscription from my last company, which was Hunt to Killer, completely not business services. But I was like, there's got to be a different way to do this, and we spend a lot of time now like training the customer that these aren't 20 to 30% like weird transactions. Like there's a different way to do this, but like it's a retainer. And so like our clients are paying it before. We're not doing like net 30 billing, right? And so like there's this process of like changing the expectation, changing the perception of like how it's always been.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Yeah, please do.
I want to know more about that, because like that sounds hard, and it's not dissimilar to the story I was just telling about WorkSmart. But like, so for us at the beginning, I'll walk you through the maturation of that pricing model, and I want to hear your story too, because I think that's really interesting. But
Yeah.
we started out per hour, packaging monthly, hourly services. Then we went to counting devices.
Yep.
Right. And like the quote looked exactly like the invoice in terms of number of devices. Then we went to counting users. Yep. And the quote was based on users, and the invoice looked like users. And then we went to, this is just the price.
Yeah.
Right. You get all the stuff and it's just this. You know, obviously there's some variations on the theme, whatever. But like, that's where we're trying to get to, where it's like, it was like count the hours, then it was count the people and computers, then it was just count the people. Then it was just like, for your company, it's about it's $5,000 a month.
Yep.
And so tell me how that, because I everybody knows staffing company, 25% higher fee.
That's it. And then like, then there's haggling, there's negotiation.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And it depends upon the level. So this all came because my last company, Hunt to Killer, we grew and scaled 0 to 55 million over 5 years. And then ultimately sold it about 2 years ago. And my business coach came to me and was like, hey, go pick your favorite line item and go do that. And I was like, thanks. Took about 6 months off and then jumped back in. My favorite line item was everything people related, but we spent about $1 million on recruiting over that 6-year period. I was like, what a, for any recruiters that are listening, cover your ears. Like, what a stupid industry. It's like the used car sales is like the equivalent for the business service space. And like, I always felt like I was being sold to. And so we started to think about that, and we're like, why are we being, because like the actual transaction closes once you hire somebody. So even though they've got a contract signed that says like X%, they don't get any of that money until you hire somebody. And so what are they doing? They're trying to sell you on the candidates that they're finding. And that's a lopsided engagement at that point. And like when we entered the market, we did something very standard, and it sounds like you guys did as well. Like we just entered as like, hey, 25, 30%, blah, blah, blah. And we realized every time we're on the call with people, they're just like, well, what makes you different? And everybody says the same thing. We're world-class recruiters. We truly are, because I partnered with the best recruiter we ever used at Hunt to Killer. We used like 7 different shops. But still, like, it sounds like a commodity. And so what we did was we said, well, there's got to be a different way we can do this. So we looked at subscription. And I'll tell you, probably the easiest way that we've been able to get over this like adoption hump is the sales channel in which they come. So you and I are talking right now, and we were both in Orlando last week. We've got an amazing community of channel partners, whether it be EOS, whether it be Vistage. We just have amazing humans that believe in what we're doing and the change that we're trying to make. And they send us clients. And I think the only reason that we've been able to kind of get this initial traction and get over that hump of like, well, what do you mean I have to pay you even if you don't find me something? It's like, well, we're going to find you someone. We're just not going to sell you on the candidates. We're going to go find the very best people. I think the only way we've been able to get over that hump is because they're coming through trusted sources. Like the people that have already seen what we can do are saying, hey, I've seen this, go talk to these people. And we immediately have that trust transfer, via the channel partner. It sounds like you had an uphill battle, because I couldn't imagine like coming out with something like this and not having, like having to convince and actually sell.
Well, I'll go back to like Ray. Like our first few hires were just rock stars, like Ray, Usha. There was just like, it's just like you said, you wouldn't have hired the best recruiter. Partner with the best recruiter, like we hired some really great people, and so like kind of proof is in the pudding. Can I ask more questions, because I know you're interviewing me, but I'm going to turn the table.
This is a conversation. This is our show.
That's right. Okay, so I described like how the pricing moves along, how our pricing kind of matured. Like how in that world where you're doing like a subscription model for recruiting, what are the inputs to pricing?
Roles, meaning that we charge per role. So someone could come to us and be like, hey, we need 3 salespeople. And we're like, it's this, and we publish everything. There is zero trust and transparency in the recruiting world. And we're trying to change all of that. And so we publish all of our stuff. So we charge a flat monthly rate per role. If you're hiring 3 people, great. You might stay with us a month longer because it's going to take us maybe a little bit longer to find that third person. But you can hire as many people as you want. We don't nickel and dime. We don't have success fees. And then we discount roles after that. The biggest challenge that we have, and that's why I'm so interested in this conversation, is like, my focus, whether it was in consumer for the last, 8 years or now in recruiting, is it's all about recurring revenue. And the problem that we have is that we're so far down market is people usually need us for 2 or 3 months, and then they don't have hiring needs for another 9 months. And so what we're trying to bridge right now is like, what other value or service can we bring in that's a reduced cost, but like still add significant value to the process in HR and stuff like that. That's what we think about every day is like, I don't really think we have recurring revenue. I like to promote it, hey, look, this is our MRR. I think it's really just MR. I think it's our monthly revenue because we're cycling through every 3 months. So that's kind of, that's what we're working with.
Yeah. So 3 months is the average.
Our average time to hire is 40. I just checked it this morning. I think our current average for 2026 is 46 days.
That's pretty amazing. 46 is amazing.
The team is the other interesting theme from your and I's conversation already is like, you had no IT background and I've got no recruiting background. If anything, I'm a terrible recruiter. And that's why I needed Alana. And like, when I say that like Alana is world-class, she is we hired recruiters at Hunt to Killer and she was an agency, and I would still call her and pay her enormous rates, the 30%, to get her to start finding us candidates because she was so good. So anyhow, long-winded, like, yes, it's fast and it's just, she's really good.
That thing though that you said about and this was you're sparking memories that are very old now, but like that thing that you said around aligning interest was the pitch, right? Where it's like, hey, listen, you're the person who built your computer doesn't make any more money from you until it breaks. Yep. And then they make a bunch of money and then they don't care. And so what I want you to do is get out of the mindset that the only time that you interact with me is when you're angry or upset. And we actually think that just like your car, if you do the maintenance, if you do the preventative stuff, you can get in front of the big disruptions. And I can't tell you whether or not it's cheaper to pay like big spikes 3 or 4 times a year versus like a lower monthly regular fee. But I can tell you this one, the lower monthly fee is easier on your mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because it doesn't get to like the moment of chaos.
Yeah. It doesn't get to the moment where you're just like throwing your hands up and don't work for 2 days.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that thing. And so for us, and the other thing that you said is as we matured as an MSP, you get really good at like tuning the systems, managing the systems, preventing stuff, and people's computers just work and you're doing all this stuff in the background. They don't ever think about it. And then they're like, why am I paying you? And you're like, well, fair. But also we did all these things. And so that like at some point also, and this is, I think for you, where I started to think a little bit more about the pricing, and this was showed up in the way that we counted stuff, but the process behind it was actuarial. And I don't know much about your pricing model, but like there's one way to think about it, which is let's just use an example of a 100K person because that's an easy math, and like the fee on that would be 25 grand. And so my subscription, it's a monthly subscription. I'm aligning interest, and that's going to be 10 grand a month or whatever, 8 grand a month, whatever it is. Right?
6,200.
6,200, right? And so that math works out to be like 18 grand. So like if we go pretty quickly and we're best in the world, I'm saving you money, and also your commitment is better. If we go longer, like it's on us and our interests are right. In some ways, like we're just changing the frequency of payment, right?
Yep.
And I think the thing that turned it from a kind of equating input or variables to the monthly payment was when I started thinking a little bit about it more from an actuarial perspective. So instead of paying just for the inputs, I was trying to price in the risk. And so that might mean that for that user, that company with 50 computers, 50 times 15 would be 750, whatever that number is, right?
Go you.
Thank you. $750 a month. But like when I think about what they will spend for 3 years, what the actual risk of that is to me from a service provider of all the inputs that I have to give them, like I might be willing to do that at $400 a month.
Yep.
And like that's a gut. It's also you back it. You have to like know the numbers really well to start developing that gut. But that was the thing I think that helped us price in a way, even as we grew and overhead got bigger and all these other parts of the business got bigger, we were still able to price in a way that made our services attractive for people to make long-term commitments to. Because like, yeah, if I just count everything in the worst case scenario, and I think that it's just like this one thing or these two things, then I got to do $800 a month. But if I actually think about lifetime value and all those sorts of things and all the other stuff that I'm going to get from you, then I'm going to price it lower, knowing, like I knew that when someone paid me, I'm going to use easy numbers again. When someone paid us $1,000 a month, I was getting on average 20% of those dollars, additional dollars in equipment sales. 30% of those dollars were coming back to me in terms of like outside of scope work. Like there were all these things that were just true that I could count on as well, that helped me have more confidence in a pricing mechanism that made them feel good about the commitment, but wasn't just like X plus Y equals Z kind of math. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And how long did it take to like get there? Like, you know, now you're just thinking about these numbers and like, you know, it's like snapping your fingers. How many years did it take to like understand the business to that degree where you were like, this is simple math?
Well, I mean, I think this is like kind of one of the crazy lucky things. Like we had a bunch of great brains, like Ron and Ricky are just like steel traps, man. Their brains just work. So we were kind of always paying attention to them. I would say that like when a few years into the MSP, so by like 2008, 2009, like we just kind of got it. And those numbers, those ratios probably aren't exactly right. But whatever they were back in 2008, 2009, 2010, maybe by 2011, like they stayed pretty consistent. You know, like we would check on, they actually became good barometers for us of whether or not we were doing like the right work, right? Like if I know that I'm always going to get X of MRR and equipment sales, and this month I only got like a third of X, like something's like, sometimes it's just like our accounting like booked the revenue in the wrong month, and like, but they became really easy indicators for us to know where the leaks were happening that we could solve, you know?
All right, quick break, friends. Do you find it impossible to hire and retain top sales talent? Or worse, are you paying insane recruiter fees who are all using outdated hiring processes? Yeah, I was too. At Hunt to Killer, we were spending hundreds of thousands on recruiter agency fees. And after I sold that company in 2025, I started Talent Harbor. And the whole vision here was to make sales recruiting accessible to small and medium-sized businesses, because the organizations that can hire and retain world-class people are the ones that ultimately win. Most organizations rely on things like ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn, and they get hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes. But we find that the best salespeople are already perfectly placed somewhere else. And that's why our approach is to go after them. And we do that through a business model called recruiting as a service. We do not charge commissions. We do not have success fees. We don't have contracts. We don't have long-term engagements. And we become an extension of your team as expert sales recruiters. If you're tired of the same old recruiters and want to actually grow your sales team, check us out at talentharbor.com. That's Talent Harbor, TALENTHARBOR.com. Let's get your next sales superstar hired. When clients would leave you, like what were like the big reasons? Because at that point, like once you're locked in and once you're doing quality work, like if you had any sort of churn, I'm assuming it was like an 80-20. What was the 80% of why people would ever leave?
The biggest thing that always, I think this is true for like almost all service providers, is change in leadership.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and managing that process is hard. And also you can do all the things and still fail. So change in leadership / M&A stuff, you know, like, which is probably pretty close to the same thing, but those would be the big things. And of course, you know, all IT companies have the call that they miss,
Yeah.
or the backup that we thought was working or what but wasn't. And I don't remember with specificity any of those things, but those things happen too, because it's just humans supporting humans, and you try to build systems that are robust and redundant and all those sorts of things, and you work your tail off to never kind of have a failure, but inevitably you do. And I remember one time, actually, this was probably 2010, 2011. We had ConnectWise, which is like the big tool that a lot of MSPs use, or I don't know, it's been a minute, but
Yeah.
and they had these workflows, and I emailed like literally like 8,000, like every contact in our database. I emailed them something like really dumb that I was testing, and like just little, like I thought I was pretty careful, and but just dumb stuff like that. You got humans working on stuff, man. Things happen, and anyway, to come back to your original question, I think most of the time when the priorities of your clients change or the leadership of the client changes, a lot of times people want to bring in the person they've worked with before or whatever, and you try to do your best to navigate that and honor the contracts and agreements that you signed, honor what the client needs, and you just kind of create systems that hopefully don't create exceptions, and then when the exceptions come up, manage the exceptions. And that's just the way it works. Yeah.
I'm sort of brand new to the business service space. We'll call it 2 years, but I think like really a year of like traction and a lot of other things. And I had no idea that was one of the biggest parts. So a good friend of mine, and he ran our marketing at Hunt Killer. And he's got a marketing agency for consumer products. And him and I were talking, and without fail, every Q1, he like churns the most amount of business. And I was like, why is that? And he was like, because everybody swaps their CMOs in Q1. And every time there's the CMO shift or swap, the one coming in always has like their go-to shop. But
Right.
I didn't even think about that. And it
Has
sounds
that
like
affected you?
no, but we haven't been around long enough. Like we're still new, and we're still trying to collect data points, because like right now it would be hard for me to say like this client didn't come back when they had another hiring need because they swapped their sales manager or something.
What do you say to people when they're like, I was this person. I never used recruiters sparingly.
Yeah.
Because it's like we can handle it. Like what is the pitch to someone who like doesn't normally use a recruiter?
I mean, this is a very personal pitch, and so it's like I'm not sure what Alana's response to this would be. The reality is like I'm a business operator. I'm not a technician or a specialist. Like technician as in I'm not a recruiter. And so the only stories that I have is I thought it was bullcrap that between 0 and call it like 5 million, I had to do my own recruiting, and we got decent talent, and like it was okay. It sounds like you got incredibly lucky or great talent in the early days, and that's awesome. There was this inflection point where we had to hire, and we would use ZipRecruiter or Indeed or LinkedIn, and we would look at resumes and everything else. When we could finally afford true recruiting, and it's we were probably 10 or 15 million at that point. It was a game changer for the business. Like it is without a doubt, it's one of the reasons that we were able to scale as quickly as we could, because we were able to go out and pitch the right talent and convince them to come into our org. And so the problem is it's a very personal story, because I understand the difference between like posting ads and true expert recruiting. Like when I share that story, they either press the I believe button or they think I'm full of shit, and then we're either off to the races or we're not.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's the same on MSP, right? Where it's like, why would I outsource? I've got this guy here for the last 10 years and he takes care of everything. Cool.
Yeah. And that's got to be like, what's interesting is the only reason I can share that story is because most of the time they don't have recruiters in-house. If they do have recruiters, then it's a completely different pitch. And what we're doing is augmenting based upon like they need more scale or more pipeline. What's interesting is like, you probably got that more often than we did, because Hunt a Killer was probably 25 million before we ever said, hey, we're gonna allocate $100,000 salary to bring a recruiter in house. But everybody like brings in IT people, and so like you've got to get over that hump probably much earlier than we do, which is interesting.
I always had like two answers, kind of depending on how the room was, but the first one was, you probably have someone, if I thought that their internal person was great, I would say something along the lines of like, hey, listen, IT is this whole spectrum. And like, I've never met anyone who's great at all of it. And
That's
so like, all I want to do is fill the cracks. Like,
Yep.
you tell me where the cracks are, I promise I can fill the cracks. And that was like, that pitch worked all the time. And the second one was, listen, I've never met an IT person who wanted to do help desk work their entire career.
Yeah.
Right. And like, God love them. There's some of them out there, but a lot of folks in my experience want to do help desk stuff, then run servers, then be in charge of strategy, then tell people all that kind of stuff. And so like, you can go hire the person who you think can do it all, but they're going to get really tired of doing the low end stuff, quote unquote, low end stuff.
Yep.
And they're going to want to do more high end stuff. And then they're either going to like make you spend more money by hiring a person to help them, or they're going to leave. Yep. And then like every 8 to 16 months, you're going to be on this, hamster wheel of recruiting a new person who's ready to do the low end stuff. And that's going to suck. So like, it worked most of the
time. I love the pitches. And what's interesting is, one of the reasons the second one not just resonated, but like I can understand it. So I was the communication. I've been in the Navy now for 25 years. The last 9 years I've been in the reserves. And one of my first division officer tour, I was the communications officer on the USS Comstock. And when I was understanding like what we were responsible for, or what I was responsible for, and what my sailors were responsible for, like my expectation walking into that role when it popped, I was like, oh, like, you know, warships have systems and we need to make sure those systems are managed. And what was interesting is like, yeah, there's like ship systems, and then there's ship servers, and then there's like everybody's computer is always broken. And so we had a help desk, and I had no idea like how much like IT covers, because like we were fixing hardware, we were fixing servers, we were fixing the communication channels, and then Seaman Timmy, he can't log into his computer, and so like he's got a help desk thing, and so we had to run a whole customer service facing part of the operation. Then we had everything, but I understand exactly what you're saying because I was thrown into that, and I was like, what? Like this all is IT? Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy. At some point, I feel like I had a crisis of confidence. One of them was like probably somewhere around like, man, I actually like 20, probably same time, 2010 or something, where I was like, it's probably when I was like turning 30. And I remember thinking to myself, like, all these young people coming into the workforce are never going to need our help because they grew up knowing how to work with computers, and they're bigger idiots than their parents. Like, for no doubt, everyone, like, I saw this on Instagram or something where it's like this, like, what am I? I'm Gen X. I don't know, something like that, 1978. Yeah. And like, we were the generation that had to go from like not using them to using them. So we had to figure out how to fix them, yep. You know, and our parents never had to do that because they just asked us, and our kids never had to do that because by the time they got to computers, they just kind of worked all the time. Yep. So I remember that exact thing where it's like, oh my God, this is like complicated to figure out how to make all this stuff run. Now that we figured it out, we'll never have a job again. But turns out there will always be a job called Seaman Timmy. Will always need help logging into his computer.
It's true. It's so fascinating because like I picked up IT skills because IT skills are just using Google, and Google will tell you exactly how to fix it, but nobody else. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're not supposed to say that.
What? So tell me this, because like there's this constant threat of like the evolution of technology right now. Obviously, AI is like the elephant in the room. Like, I hear all day long, like recruiters' jobs. It was the CEO of Anthropic last year was like, recruiters' jobs will be gone within the next 6 months. And I went to Anthropic's job listing page, and they were hiring 6 recruiters. And I was like, God, these people are so full of shit. But so like, I don't buy into that. I don't buy into like professional services and the art and expertise of recruiting is going to be 100% replaced. What do you see as far as like the MSP, whether it be AI or just like hardware and software getting better? Like, what do you see the future of that industry being?
I don't think I'm getting paid enough to answer that question. I'm just kidding. I don't know, man. I wish I knew. I feel like we could get real rich if we could have a crystal ball. I think that what I do know is that, AI is the current word. 10 years ago, it was just simply this idea of automation. Forever and ever in the technology world, there's something around the corner that will solve everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't yet seen it come true, and I'm 100% likely wrong when it comes to AI. So, like, I don't know, but I will always bet on human interaction.
Yep.
What I believe is that people want to talk to people to solve problems, whether that's computer problems, talent problems, business strategy problems, whatever it is. I believe that people want to interact with people. Now, that doesn't mean that technology doesn't have a place, right? Like, it certainly does. And AI is a great thought partner, but it is not a great decision partner. Be a human, make decisions, lead, strategize with your human brain, is like my first thing. Now, will more and more tasks become automated, AI enabled, all those sorts of things? 100%. Like, 25 years ago when we started WorkSmart, I sent a dude in a car to a place to replace a tape in a server like once a week to get the backup, right? Like, obviously, technology has made that no longer necessary. There will be things that we're doing now that we will not be doing in a year and 3 years and 5 years and 7 years. We must fill the void with bigger and better things to solve bigger and better problems, right? Like that guy who's driving 20 miles to replace a tape in the server, 5 years later was helping someone design their migration to the cloud, right?
Yep.
And 5 years after that is helping them design their next ERP implementation. Bigger and better things all the time. I think what I've always thought about is like there's this hole in the middle that, like, the help desk, human interaction stuff. I still believe a lot of people still want to talk to a real person. There's this kind of stuff in the middle that I'm not sure there's a lot of middle level stuff anymore. You probably need big brain, high level strategic thinking, and maybe the AI stuff takes over in the middle. But there's all sorts of crazy tools in the MSP world that you can spend a ton of money on. Like if we have MSP people listening, death by new tool is a thing.
Yeah.
Like, there is not a magic wand that makes your company instantly more profitable, more efficient, all that kind of stuff. It's actually the same with people. You probably know this, Ryan. If you have a client that comes to you and says, like, you know what we need? We just need that one guy to come in and fix everything. You're like, yo, your culture's off. Your processes suck.
Yeah.
Like,
your glass door is not great. Yeah.
That one person ain't going to solve it.
Yeah.
It actually, and I saw this on LinkedIn, and somebody was posting about this, like, before you go throwing more money, time, people, whatever, tools at the problem, if you don't have a really clear understanding what good looks like, what the process is, what the systems are to count whether or not to tell you whether or not it's working, you're just wasting money. And we're, especially in the MSP space where you got a bunch of things working against you, you kind of already like to nerd out, right? Like, new tools are really infatuating to us in the MSP world, and you got a bunch of revenue coming in the door that you can count on. Sure, why not another $800 a month on the latest and greatest thing? And next thing you know, you got 20 of them, and only one of them's working, but you're still paying the bill. Anyway, obviously, you struck a nerve there.
I love it. And oh gosh, there was something along the same line of tools. Oh, one just quick commentary on that, like. It probably happens a lot in your organization, but just to double down, like in consumer products, there was always a new like bolt-on tool or something that would give you different stuff. And there was never a silver bullet. And for us, like we came from Bullhorn, which was an ATS, or it still is. It shouldn't be an ATS anymore, but for some reason it's still around. And we went to this new kind of fancy platform, and it's got AI integrated, and it really like helps us hone in to find incredible people. That made a difference, but it was like a 1990s software versus like something that was just built in the 2020s. Like, that's great. And I've seen our organization at times being like, hey, maybe there's some new ATS or some new things out there. And for me, it just always gets back to the fundamentals of like, what's our process? How are we thinking through this? What's our proven process? And like how can we make that better? Because it like one tool is not going to take our net promoter score from a 60 to a 100.
I think it's actually spot on because we get sold so much now.
Yep.
Like we get sold so much. And so I was actually with a client just a couple weeks ago who was saying like, we should switch. I just saw this. I just got this new demo. And I was like, well, slow down. Like, what do you need and want out of the tool? Like define like, just the simple stuff of like stop getting sold to, come up with the recs, the requirements of what you need. And then like you shop, don't get sold to. And like that little thing can save money and time because everybody's going to tell you all the great stuff. Yeah. But when you come up with the actual requirements list of what you need, whether it's to support your proven process or to support a system that you believe in and that is uniquely yours, and find the thing that supports that instead of trying to wrap your business into something that the salesperson told you was a great idea, I think is a really great lesson for a lot of leaders.
We spent like, we wrote it off. But we spent about $2 million building our own software. And because like when we thought about what we needed all these very specific things. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this sounds great. And we had a whole IT team and a developing team and everything else. We're like, yeah, let's just go build our own Shopify. What a terrible idea that was.
Sounds great.
But we did it. And we built all the features that like we needed. We didn't think about like the basic features. So we used to do things, and maybe this is something in the IT world. My people use t-shirt sizes. So I'd be like, hey, we need the software to be able to do this. Every time I said that, it was a double XL. And I was like, guys, that was the click of a button on Shopify. If I wanted Apple Pay, I'd click a button and automatically Apple Pay would now be served on everybody that's checking out via an iPhone. And you're telling me that this is a 10-month project now? And we eventually wrote it off and came back. And it goes back to the requirements, because what's so important, and this was my biggest takeaway from that whole thing, is like, if you can get 80% there for something off the shelf, like 80% is so much better than going and beating your head against the wall trying to get like those like few extra things you think you need.
Yes. Period. Put that on a t-shirt.
There we go. Okay, tell your mom. Maybe she'll put it on a t-shirt for both of us. This will be great.
Okay. Yeah, she will. She probably will.
I so hope she's listening. What's her name, by the way?
Carol Penny.
Carol.
What's up, Mom?
Oh, I hope Carol's listening.
She's gonna listen at some point, for sure.
That's great. Hey, one question for you as you're going through this process. So what was interesting about your story is you guys pivoted, and every company I've ever started, like we had different pivots out of the gate. And so you saw this very clear need for like Uber meets software centers or storage centers. And as you guys went down that path, it sounds like you're like, like there might be product market fit over here. This is a two-parter. Number one, like, what was the data point that compelled you to take that leap of faith to completely get out of this like WeWork-style business and go into MSP? I'll wait for the follow-up, but let's start with that one.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was like this like brilliant movie Hollywood thing, but the truth of the matter is that when it came time to put our money where our mouth was, we didn't have the money to do the office space work. And so it was either like really kind of focus on that, or go do the thing that we thought we could invoice the next month.
Yeah.
And so that was the answer. It was a capital thing. It was like, do we want to run a business where we're just going out and getting a bunch of money, or do we want to run a business where we're going out and providing service and getting paid for it?
Do you think it would have worked? Like in retrospect now, are you like, hey, like regardless of what got us here, like it was the right here, or do you look back on that and you're like, what a missed opportunity?
I mean, I don't know. I've watched enough WeWork documentaries to think that like maybe we avoided not that I would have, but like that's a hard business, man. Like that flexibly leased office space. Even now, I don't stay up with like what's happening with WeWork, but like even now, like that model is tough. It's really capital intense. It's really you got to be really competitive on the rates and the lease terms and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a hard business to run. Whereas like MSP is pretty rock steady, not the rocket ship maybe, but also a pretty good ride.
What's interesting is like, it sounds like you and your partners were open-minded the entire time of like, regardless, like taking out that it was the capital side, like you guys were pivoting and then you continued to evolve. Did you ever look at, like, once cloud computing started to come up, did you ever look back, not necessarily back, but like, were you guys constantly assessing opportunities and like where to place bets, or like once MSP, it was like, let's optimize this business and let's figure out how far we can take it?
So like in 2000, I keep saying 2010. That's probably not accurate for any of the times I've said it. It just feels like a good marker. A lot of MSPs were like building their own data centers, and we were in peer groups where we had peers doing that. It just kind of wasn't in our risk profile. Like, we had the conversations regularly, like, and part of that was through EOS. Part of that was just because curious people have curious conversations. But I hesitate to ever say something was right or wrong. What I will say is, like, you just kind of like take the decisions as they come. If you're having like an open, honest conversation about it and you're aligned with your team around what we're willing to do and what we aren't willing to do, the answers get pretty clear.
Yep.
Right. And so like the conversations happened all the time. It was not a matter of us not talking about it. It was a matter of kind of, is that how we want to spend money? It feels expensive. Like, maybe we were a little, for sure. Sometimes maybe you can think to yourself, were we too risk averse or not? But it's a good ride, you know? I don't know how to like kind of say, there's a million things you can do differently, but that doesn't mean that it was the wrong choice, you know?
For folks that are out there that are like either thinking through partnerships or they're in a partnership, or like, it sounds like you were in a triad. We'll call it a triad. Sure. How do you ensure that everybody's, you talked a little bit about like risk tolerance, and maybe there's also like goals, ambitions, and what folks want out of life. Like, how were you guys able to like navigate those types of conversations, or like, was everybody eyes wide open going in that like, we all have the same risk tolerance, we all want the same thing?
No, when life changes, man. So like, when the company started, none of us had kids, and then we did, you know? And so like, I don't necessarily want to like speak for them, but I think it was just have the conversation. Like, if you're thinking about it, it's not the kind of thing that you set once and then forget.
Yep.
It is a thing that requires like maintenance.
Yep.
It requires open, honest, vulnerable conversations all the time, not one time. And so that is the only advice I would give someone who's like in that place, is like, it's not a set it and forget it type thing. It is requires care and feeding forever.
Because you're an EOS implementer today, and you're guiding organizations through this. I'm assuming there's probably many businesses out there or some sort of partnership, regardless of how it's split. Like, is this something that you think that partners every quarterly pulse should be talking about? Is this something like on during annual planning season, like come together and just have that on the long-term issues list? Like, what do you think that frequency should be, just to keep it healthy and top of mind?
EOS obviously has some rhythms, quarterly rhythms, where we do a check-in, and we dive a lot deeper in an annual than we do in a quarterly. But I hesitate to say that's the right rhythm. The right rhythm is when it comes up for you, bring it up. This is actually like why, you know, whether it's in a same page meeting, in an L10, in a quarterly, in an annual, or on the drive home from work. Yeah. Whatever it is, right? Like, when it comes up for you, you know, I'm not saying we don't want a bunch of people like, what is it, the boy who cried wolf kind of thing. Yep. But also, man, we're just, you know, I feel like I'm a broken record. It's just humans. So like, when it comes up for you and you need to talk about it, talk about it. And like, my job as an EOS implementer is to like see it when it's not said and make sure it gets some sunlight, right? If it feels like it's underlying in the room, to bring it up. But I'm lucky, I think, that most of my clients are in a really healthy place where like, when they're feeling something, they're bringing it up. I don't have to do a bunch of pushing. They're pretty good at it. So, but I think that's the thing. Actually, a client of mine just posted a comment on one of my LinkedIn posts saying like, about a breakthrough kind of sharing moment in the L10. And there's nothing that'll make an EOS implementer happier than hearing their client say like, hey, we just said the thing. And everyone's okay. Actually, it was hard, but we're better for it, you know? So that's pretty cool. when you get there?
And I know this is going to vary, but you just said when they get there. How long does it take teams to get there? Like get to a place in where they can have the conversations that need to be had? Or like, what are some of those milestones? Like maybe you're like, hey, some it takes a month, some it takes 2 years. Like it just depends. Like, what are some of those things that you're looking for as they're going through that like trust journey?
As an implementer, one of the things we ask at the beginning of most sessions is, tell me what's working and what's not working in the business. And when I hear like the facade answer or whatever, like, you know, like the 1 inch deep answer to the not working, I'm like, y'all, come on, we got to dig a little. And I just make a note that like, I got to push a little bit harder later on in the session. But when I hear a team like say like they say there's a real issue and they say it in a way that is like the right combination of tender, like knowing that there are people in the room who are going to feel scared when the hard thing is said, but also aggressively pursuing that thing that they wanted on the VTO. Like that combination, when I hear that, like real care for the people in the room and real care for the outcome that we all want, it's hard to say exactly what that is, but what I listen for it most is at the very beginning of a session. And some people are there immediately and they just go faster. And some people, it takes a year, right? You can't prescribe it. You can't say this is exactly how it works, but this is actually the whole point. Or like part of the biggest thing of EOS, we talk about it. You've heard this before: vision, traction, and the last thing is healthy. And that's the healthy part, right? Just say the thing, get it out there, and we're always working towards it. From session 1, actually from the 90-minute meeting, when we ask people like, what keeps you up at night?
Yep.
We're trying to get them to start to feel comfortable with saying the hard thing in front of their peers. And for a lot of folks, that's a new experience.
Love this. Okay. Last two. Number one, what do you look for in clients? Are you industry focused? Are you geographically focused? What do you look for in your clients?
I'm still new in my EOS journey, right? I'm like 18 months in. I've got almost a full book of business, so I get to be a little bit pickier now than I was a year and a half ago. I really want to work with folks who really care deeply about working hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm not looking for the clients who want to say like we run on EOS because all my buddies run on EOS, right? And there's a little bit of that sometimes. I want the thing where it's like we're here to achieve big things and we're here to do it in a way where it feels good. I want that vibration that happens when everybody's aligned. We're all working our asses off. We're getting stuff done. And we just get together, like that vibration. You can just feel it in the room when that electricity is going. You've done it. You know what it feels like, right? That's the high I'm trying to chase, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want. I want that room where it's like, we're doing big things. Everybody's excited. Let's go. You know, that's what I want.
Like, I do know what you're talking about. Also, I will tell you, it has always been dependent upon the team that I had in the room with me, meaning that like, there's sometimes where so Margaret Dixon out of Boulder, Colorado was our implementer. And there were sometimes I would show up in the room and like that energy wasn't there. And it's because we had an issue that we weren't talking about. But there's no better feeling like when things are moving and people are cranking.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. So someone just listened to this and they're like, oh my gosh, like I need to work with Clay Harris. What is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Oh, okay, cool. It's clay@clayharris.com is my email address, or here's my cell phone number, 919-452-5390. Just call me. If I'm not in a session, I'll answer.
Bold move. What if I told you right now that we were a top 1% podcast and we had 10,000? No, I'm just kidding. We're not there yet, but we're gonna get there.
What am I gonna do? What do you want me to do? Turn down a phone call? Call me. I don't care. I get phone calls all day. I love it. I love talking to people. This is my favorite part of my job. I love running sessions. I love even more when like the CEO or someone calls me and is like, hey man, I'm struggling with this. And we spend 15 minutes on the phone.
Yep.
And they're like, that light bulb moment is like an awesome feeling for everybody. So let me ask this for our listeners. What about you? What's your like ideal client?
Oh, That's good. I would say most ideal is probably 10 to 25 million. And operating on EOS, this isn't me just tooting your horn and tooting all of EOS's horn. Like, there is a massive difference between organizations that are operating on some sort of system and those that are not. We'll actually turn down clients that aren't. And the reason for this is, like, if an organization doesn't understand what their core values are or their core behaviors inside of the organization that drive success, then we will fail as recruiters. Half the battle is finding the right human to fit into that culture. And we've just found ourselves set up for failure if that's not in place.
I have another question for you.
Yeah.
You work with an EOS client and they're like, we got a position open, and they just send you the accountability chart. Is that enough for you to go to recruit that position?
No.
What else? Okay,
No.
well, you understand benefits and salary.
Yeah.
Here's the debate I'm trying to resolve, because my pure heart, my pure EOS heart wants me to say, like, hey, if that accountability chart is clear on what your key function is and what your main roles are, I don't need a 30-page job description to go along with it.
I see what you're getting at. There's three things. There's three tools that we use. Number one, the accountability chart. Yes, we can derive a lot. That tells us what we need, not necessarily who we need. And what I mean by that is, like, what experience, what expertise, what background, what. We need the VTO, because the VTO tells us who we need, because we can look at the core values, we can look at the vision, we can look at the niche, we can derive a lot from the VTO. And then the other tool that we use is the people analyzer. People think the people analyzer is, like, just to evaluate teammates that are already there. I've used people analyzers for vendors, for partners. We've used them for clients, and we certainly use it in the recruiting process. And that's just a part of the assessment. So I agree with you. I just think we need, like, one or two more. We do not need a 30-page JD. That's just a waste. I agree.
Well, you said he didn't want to toot the EOS horn, but toot, let's go.
That's it. It's all there. Like, if we've got those two things, like, we can figure out everything else. Now, we do a 90-minute kickoff call and learn a lot, but
it's good.
That's a whole thing. All right, Clay.
Man, this has been fun.
Dude, this was a blast jamming. And your other half told me he was going to invite me on your podcast. So hopefully I get to jam with you guys here in a bit.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Ryan.